Hello, I'm Dr. David Hawkins, Director of the Marriage Recovery Center. We're on our fourth of a five-part series on when love hurts. We've talked about how we are created for intimacy. We want to connect. We've got the urge to merge, and we all have it, and it's hardwired into us. Also talked about how we hurt each other. Hurting people hurt people. It's natural. It happens. It happens to the best of us. It happens in our relationships, and we try not to, but we get into a bad space and we have dysfunctional patterns, and then we hurt each other again and again. And then at some point in time, that's all we can see. We can't even see our mate. We just see this mountain of hurt. We see this mountain of pain that's between us and our mate. And it's just so incredibly damaging. And then we begin to lose hope and lose heart. And then we talked about how we determine when it's time to get help. And so we have to reach that point where we're ready to have an intervention. I'm often asked the question, is there any hope for us? Is there any hope for our relationship? Can he change? Can she change? The answer to that is there has to be a breakdown first before we find out what kind of breakthrough can happen. So don't get stuck on the words of, he'll never change, she'll never change. Don't get stuck there. It's possible that they won't, but the answer comes only after there has been a breakdown, an intervention of some kind. Then you will know. I want to talk to you now about how we heal. What happens here? So, unfortunately, we end up tolerating a lot of distress. You've heard the story about the frogs in the kettle, and the frogs are in this kettle of warm water, and it's being turned up 1 degree at a time. And the story, it's legend, but the story goes that, if you turn it up 1 degree at a time, they're going to stay in that kettle until they boil to death. And you probably found yourself in that place where you have the sense that you have been in a kettle and it has been turned up 1 degree at a time, and you ask yourself the question, how did I get here? And you got here by 1 degree at a time, and you got here also by this process of collusion. Collusion is, I don't see an elephant in the room. Do you see an elephant in the room? I don't want to talk about that elephant. It's too scary to talk about that elephant. And so I don't talk about the elephant. You don't talk about the elephant. And the elephant remains in the room. And the mountain of pain gets worse and worse and worse. And we find ourselves sometime down the road just seeing that mountain of pain between us. And then we tell ourselves, it's all over. This relationship can't make it. But I'm here to tell you, well, wait a minute, slow down. So how do we heal? We heal when one person, typically it's one person, maybe it's both, but often it's one who says, I'm going to embark on an intervention. I'm going to go through with this. And then you face that level of resistance. And I was talking to a woman just this morning, and she said to me, I've said to my husband, I'm going to separate from him. And he came back with a threat. Well, if you do, I'll divorce you. We've all heard that. So there's that resistance. You have to expect that resistance to change. You have to expect that there's going to be pushback. It's very rare that you go to your mate and say, hey, I would like some changes. Oh, okay, no worries. I'd love to go to counseling. Let's go get some depth counseling and let's make changes. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There's going to be that time where you live with tension and you live with that discomfort, and he resists the change or she resists the change. And so you have that pushback, and you have to live with that tension when you have said, here's what really must change. And that's a task for you. What must change? Identify it, name it. We can't change what we don't see. We can't see what someone hasn't told us or what we haven't been confronted with. So you've got to decide, how much change do you really need? If you need a little bit of change, okay, get a little bit of change. So change occurs when we begin to appreciate that what we have is going to be lost. So we have to face that issue. We have to feel it. And then we can enter into this healing process, I call it a healing container, where two people ultimately, after this intervention occurs, they enter into this healing process with someone, a very, very well-trained clinician who understands marriage, who understands emotional abuse, who understands the complications of a difficult relationship. So you want to find the best help possible, and you want to insist on the level of change that you need in your relationship. So the level of intervention must be commensurate with the level of change that you need and desire. Again, a little bit of change, get a little bit of help. Need a lot of change, get a lot of help. So really be honest with yourself. The truth will set you free after it hurts like crazy. So you enter into this healing process. Maybe you find yourself, I want to talk about a therapeutic healing process. And by the way, I have articles that you can contact my office. I'll give information at the end of this video about how you can contact us for some free articles that will help you understand how to initiate an intervention, how to initiate a therapeutic healing process, which I'm going to describe right now. A therapeutic healing process is when two people have separated and there's just so much pain between them. They can't see their way back to each other, and they're thinking about divorce. You're thinking about divorce. You're thinking about the end of the relationship. Before you sign on the dotted line to end that relationship, would you consider going through a therapeutic healing process? And that is a process whereby which someone like myself helps you and your mate heal from the wounds that you brought to the relationship or that have occurred within the relationship, with no intention of reconciliation at the end. It's just to heal the wounds in the relationship. Of course, if you heal the junk between you two, you're going to be able to see each other clearer and make a better decision about what you want to do with the relationship. So again, there's got to be a breakdown that leads to a breakthrough. Then you'll see if he or she can really change. You want to enter into a healing process where you heal the wounds. Someone trained to help you heal the wounds. And by the way, when there's been a separation, people are typically more motivated to deal with their issues. So you do this wounds work. You do this therapeutic healing process. You enter in with a really trained clinician who can create a healing container. 45 minutes a week, by the way. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I'm opposed to 45 minutes a week to do depth marriage work. So you want a 2-hour session, 3-hour session. I'm doing 1 day, 2 day, 3 day marriage intensives. So you want depth help to really, really get this healing container where you, me, together, we work on issues and we work on healing the wounds that have separated you two. So healing can happen, but the bitterness and the resentment and the hurt, that's all got to be dealt with. And then when those wounds have healed somewhat, then you can see each other and make a better decision about what you want to do for the future of the relationship. So consider engaging with your mate in a process where you heal the wounds and then you decide what you want to do. So you can enter into a therapeutic healing process. You can enter into depth couples counseling. You can insist on depth change. And your mate will resist it first. None of us enter change deciding, hey, this all sounds great, let's do this. So expect resistance, but when you live with that tension and move beyond that, healing is possible. I think it's possible for many, if not most, and I know that goes counter to what many people think and what many people say, but you won't know until you've had the intervention, the breakdown that leads to the breakthrough. All right, I've got articles available for you that will help you understand interventions, that will help you understand the therapeutic healing process that you can go through with a mate who is separated from you. I've got articles that will talk about the importance and how change really happens. So happy to work with you And just I'm delighted that you've watched the video, and next time we will have the last in this series of When Love Hurts. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care. God bless.